The Olympics come with a lot of excitement, a lot of money, and a lot of history. And no venue embodies that history quite like the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Built nearly a century ago for less than $1 million, this iconic stadium has hosted unforgettable moments that have defined sports and culture. It's where NFL teams like the Raiders and Rams have clashed, where USC football made its mark, and where over 134,000 people once gathered. But its most enduring legacy, becoming the first venue in the world to host 3 separate Olympic Games, a feat that many believe earned it the nickname, the greatest stadium in the world. As the Coliseum and the surrounding Expo Park prepare for a massive transformation ahead of the 2028 Olympics, they face the tricky challenge of balancing modern upgrades with the Coliseum's storied past, all while dealing with the ongoing drama surrounding the funding for these changes. Let's dive into the legacy and bold future of the Coliseum and Expo Park. The LA Memorial Coliseum sits in South LA within Exposition Park, just adjacent to the University of Southern California. It sits as both a neighbor to one of California's largest universities and a tribute to the city's ambition and history. Commissioned in 1921 to honor LA's World War I veterans, the Coliseum opened in May 1923 after just 16 months of construction. Built for around $950,000, or around $18 million in today's money, it was a feat of efficiency, delivering a 75,000-seat stadium that ranked among the world's largest at the time. Recreating it today would likely cost billions and take many years. The venue instantly became a stage for history. Expanded to over 101,000 seats for the 1932 Olympics, it gained the iconic Olympic rings and torch, later hosting the 1984 Games with further upgrades. Beyond sports, the Coliseum hosted US presidents Pope John Paul II and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's been home to USC football since its opening, drawing an incredible 105,000 fans for a game in 1947. Over the years, it's also hosted the NFL's Raiders and Rams during their time in Los Angeles. As I touched on in the intro, its largest crowd came in 1959, when more than 134,000 people attended a Billy Graham crusade. But even with all this history, the Coliseum still has a bright future ahead of it. Planning the 2028 Games presented a fundamental challenge. The Coliseum floor no longer had space for a full track. Renovations in the 1990s added 14 rows of seats closer to the field for football, significantly shrinking the space. To solve this, the LA28 Organizing Committee devised a bold plan involving a temporary but elaborate construction project. This $100 million solution involves building a new floor 11 feet above the current one, supported by thousands of columns and metal plates. The elevated surface will stretch over the added seating, creating room for a track and turf infield. Beneath the new floor, the lower level will be repurposed for warm-ups and other essential functions. Casey Wasserman, the chair of LA28, characterized it as the most expensive and probably complicated thing we actually have to build, which really just goes to show how few venues are being constructed for the Olympics. Despite the excitement, not everyone is thrilled about the Coliseum's Olympic role. The president of the Coliseum Commission, as well as many members of the public, criticized plans to split the opening ceremony between the Coliseum and the much newer SoFi Stadium. They argue that symbolic moments like the Parade of Nations and Olympic Oath should remain at the Coliseum. Construction for the elevated floor is set to begin after USC's final football game of the 2027 season. Workers will remove the current turf and dirt, exposing the concrete base. Adjustable columns will be positioned every 10 feet, with some materials requiring transport via crane over the stadium's walls due to limited access. The final phase includes laying a metal deck, adding gravel, and installing a synthetic track and turf infield. LA28 has also proposed dramatic athlete entrances, such as a mechanical platform to elevate competitors to field level. The Coliseum hasn't just been prepared for the Olympics, it's also seen a major transformation in recent years. Now only home to USC's football team, the venue remains publicly owned. After taking over the master lease in 2013, USC launched a $270 million renovation plan in 2015, later increasing it to $315 million. Upgrades included new seating, a modern press box with suites and lounges, LED ribbon boards, new sound system, and 2 HD jumbotrons. Seating capacity was reduced by 16,000 to about 78,500. Fully funded by USC, the renovations wrapped up before the 2019 season. While not designed specifically for the Olympics, these updates modernized the stadium and likely save costs on Olympic-related improvements. The surrounding Expo Park is undergoing a transformative $351 million upgrade, aiming to create a more cohesive cultural and community destination. This ambitious plan includes 6 acres of new green space built atop an underground parking garage, replacing existing surface lots. The redesign will better connect the Lucas Museum, the California Science Center, and the Natural History Museum. Key upgrades feature a tree-lined museum walk, improved signage, and a new welcome center, all designed to make the park more inviting and enjoyable for visitors. And if you visited recently, you've likely seen extensive construction underway, a clear indication of the scale of these changes. In addition to the park improvements, major projects are reshaping the area. The California Science Center is in the midst of its own $425 million expansion, while the $1 billion Lucas Museum of Narrative Art is nearing completion. Both projects are spectacular in their own right, with their openings anticipated ahead of the 2028 Olympics. And I'll be diving deeper into these developments in a future video. The revitalization of Expo Park is expected to wrap up by 2027, perfectly timed to welcome the world for the 2028 Games. In my recent video, I went through all the ways LA is planning to use its existing stadium infrastructure to minimize the cost of building new facilities. Former host sites like Athens in 2004 have been burdened with high costs and no use for the facilities after the Olympics, often leading to abandoned venues. As one of the financial safeguards here to the US taxpayer, the LA 2028 Olympics are being funded and operated privately. This means that the $100 million upgrade to the Coliseum, whether you agree with how large the price tag is being funded privately. And this objectively is how it should be. The Olympics are a short-term event, and if LA 28 is going to take home any profit, they should pay for the temporary upgrades to the facility. But this doesn't necessarily mean the public avoids all costs. Infrastructure improvements, whether temporary or permanent, are often funded by state or federal dollars. In line with this, the $350 million allocated for Expo Park upgrades is no exception, with funding sourced from state money. Proponents highlight the short-term economic benefits, including thousands of construction jobs and a potential tourism surge during the Olympics. However, the long-term value of these investments remains a topic of debate. Critics caution that once the games are over, both the stadium and Expo Park could face reduced usage, with some improvements offering limited lasting value to the community. There's also concern that without continued attention, these upgrades could fall into disrepair over time. This skepticism regarding state dollars is particularly pronounced in a state and region grappling with a severe homelessness crisis, which many LA residents witness on a daily basis. Despite over $20 billion of funding over the past 5 years aimed at addressing homelessness, the problem remains largely unresolved, further fueling skepticism about the state spending money anywhere. And having seen the homelessness issue firsthand, it's clear why some would question the allocation of resources. Stepping back to the two major projects we've explored, it's evident that Los Angeles is gearing up for everything that comes with hosting the Olympics. Over the next few years, the world's attention will be fixed on LA, and with so much work still underway and massive amounts of money being invested, the city is bound to remain a hub of excitement and debate. It's inspiring to see one of the world's most iconic and historic sports venues receiving the care and attention it deserves. With these upgrades, it's poised to play a significant role in the upcoming games, showcasing both its legacy and its modernized potential on a global stage. At Buildcore, we're building America, one story at a time. We cover some of the most impressive and headline-grabbing projects across this great country, and with your help, the channel has grown to over 25,000 subscribers in just over a year. With that being said, thank you, and I'll see you next time.